Hello. Have you ever seen the Eiffel Tower or the London Bridge or perhaps the Statue of Liberty in New York? Well, I know for a fact, in my experience as an airline captain for the past 15 years, I still have people get on my airplane, very nervous flyers and very scared to take a trip somewhere. And I've talked to people outside the airplane who have never been on a plane just because they're completely scared out of their minds getting on an airplane. Studies have shown that flying is actually way safer than driving. So for me, for example, and some psychologists have agreed that when people understand more about a specific issue or topic, it helps relieve their anxieties or fears of maybe fear of heights or flying or whatever it may be. So today I'm going to talk a little bit about a basic understanding on how airplanes fly. So hopefully those of you who have never flown or are afraid to fly will be a little less apprehensive and be able to take a trip and see those things instead of in a textbook or in a picture. You can actually go there for yourself and see these beautiful monuments. First of all, obviously planes fly in the air, so I think a quick basic understanding of air pressure, just like if you were watching on the news and you say, oh, we have a high pressure or a low pressure, how all that even comes to relate to basic aerodynamic principles of an airplane. If you were to imagine these sheets of paper or even stacks of blankets stacked up all the way to outer space, that would it would be basically similar to molecules of air that are stacked up on top of each other. Just like how these blankets or sheets of paper would be stacked up, as far as the pressure or the weight of the air, then the very bottom blanket or sheet of paper would be carrying all the weight of the other stacks above it. So the pressure of the air down by the earth would be a higher or more dense pressure than the pressure at the air up top, say at 37,000 feet, has less pressure. So understanding that, we can go to talk about a gentleman, a Swiss mathematician back in the 1730s by the name of Daniel Bernoulli. He was, like I said, a Swiss mathematician who developed the beginnings of what they call fluid dynamics. Well, fluid, we're not talking about the water, but air is also considered a fluid in this sense of aerodynamics. What I have drawn here on the board and a couple items in front of me, basically here's just a miniature version of this wing. These two wings are very similar that you would find on this type of aircraft. This is just a little bit bigger version of that wing. And what I want you to pay attention to is the side or cross-section view of the wing, what's called the airfoil. If you notice in this wing, for example, the top of the wing or the upper camber has a slight curve to it and the bottom is a little bit more flat. Not all wings are designed like this, but this for our presentation is a little bit easier to see how air pressure will relate to the upper and lower cambers of the wing. So going from this model here, we go to the example that I have drawn out here on the paper, and that same cross section is here what you're looking at, basically the upper camber and lower camber of the wing. And if you were to take an imaginary line from the very tip of the leading edge or front of the wing to the trailing edge or back part of the wing and extend it through, that's what you would call your mean or average chord line of the wing. That's basically when this angle compared to the angle of the wind going over the wing creates an angle of attack. Now, depending on how dramatic or larger this angle is, will allow you to climb more or less. But still, that effect is just like if you're driving down the freeway and you have your hand sticking out of the car and you turn your hand, it wants to go up, and you turn your hand down, it wants to go down. That's relating to this more so. However, back to the air pressure and Bernoulli's principle, what he stated is any increase in velocity, basically the faster you're traveling through the air, you have a decrease in pressure. So if the wind is coming and hitting the very beginning of the wing or the leading edge of the wing and it splits to travel along this route over the top and bottom of the wing, because the top of the wing on most aircraft are usually more curved like we saw here on the model wing, the air going over the top actually has to travel faster to meet that same air molecule together here in the back of the wing. Therefore, the increase in velocity of the air over the top of the wing decreases the air pressure. So now what the example here we're looking at shows a low pressure over the top or upper camber of the wing would actually create almost a vacuum compared to the high pressure, which is also helping to push the wing upwards in the air. I can show this demonstration by using this sheet of paper. If we were to imagine that this side of the paper and the curved top of the paper is just like the wing, and I blow air over the top of the paper, you'll actually see the air want to lift because the pressure on top of the wing will be lower because of the increased velocity, like this. And that is the same effect that the wings of these airplanes have. And due to this lower pressure over the top or upper camber of the wing, creates a vacuum or suction, and the higher pressure of the air below the wing, which always wants to seek low pressure, will help lift the wing and get the airplane airborne. Most people who see this might seem a little bit more complicated, but like I said, if you were just to relate this example to your hand being out the window of a car, and anytime you tilt your hand up, you increase the angle of attack, and your hand wants to climb up, just like an airplane. So hopefully, with the information that you have here, and a little bit more of an increased knowledge that how airplanes fly and how airplanes work, you may actually be a little less apprehensive and want to get on an airplane one day and go see some of these amazing sites that we talked about earlier, as far as Paris or London or Australia, or even in our own country like LA and New York. So hopefully this slight aerodynamic lesson will help ease your anxiety of getting on board an aircraft, and hopefully I'll get to see you on board one of my airplanes and take you on vacation.